Right, so in today's video, we're going to be verticutting this space for the very first time. And those who have been subscribed to this channel now for a while will know that we actually seeded this space from scratch back in April this year. It used to be a ryegrass lawn, whereas now it is a bent fescue lawn. So I'm going to be talking about the benefits of actually verticutting lawn, particularly if you have this sort of grass variety. But as ever, before you do anything to your lawn, the first question you really need to be asking yourself is, why are you doing something? Are you doing it because you've seen someone on YouTube, some content creator, doing something to their lawn, or you see an advert for a new type of tool or a new type of product, and that's why you're whacking it down? Or is there a specific purpose behind what you're actually doing to your space? When it comes to vertically cutting the lawn, it's doing a very similar thing to what we would do when we regularly cut the lawn. So when we're taking off the top part of the grass plant, it's encouraging that growth there within the plant to help thicken up that sward. And this does something very similar. What we're intending to do is to cut the stolons and to cut the rhizomes that are actually running through the lawn, and that's all the lateral growth that we're going to get. Bent grasses have stolons which run across the top of the lawn, and you've got rhizomes as well with fescue plants. And what we're going to do now is, by getting on and cutting the lawn vertically, we're going to cut those stolons, we're going to cut those rhizomes, and what it's going to then cause is this space to have more parent plants, and it's going to encourage that growth through the stolons, through the rhizomes. It's naturally going to thicken this space up slowly over time without the need of any overseeding. But that's only going to be the case if you've got the right grass variety. So like I said at the start of the video, this space here is bent fescue. If you've got ryegrass, there's the odd variety of ryegrass that does have stolons or rhizomes, one of the two, but most varieties don't. Whereas with this lawn, no overseeding is really going to need to take place, just as long as we're not too aggressive on the lawn. So to verticut, you can go out and buy a specific kind of tool, and often when you see verticutters, it's like a cylinder with lots of almost like rotating discs on there, and they're quite sharp, and the aim is obviously, like I said, it's a pruning tool to cut the stolons, to cut the rhizomes. However, I don't have a specific verticutter. All I've got is a scarifier. Now both tools are very, very similar. If you think about it, a scarifier is just a blade that cuts vertically into the lawn, and a verticutter is just a blade that cuts vertically into the lawn. There are some differences between the specific kinds of tools, but they're almost doing the same job. With the scarifier, you want to be cutting deeper into the lawn, because the intention is you're going to be ripping out thatch, and sometimes blades on a scarifier can be quite thick, because that then enables it to rip out more thatch from the lawn. With a verticutter, often you have more blades, and those blades are thinner, because the aim isn't to rip out thatch, it's to prune the plant, it's to actually cut that lateral growth that's going on across your lawn. Now with this scarifier, this iron held cordless that I've got, the blades are quite sharp. There's almost like a little point towards the bottom. Now I imagine if you had the 400-odd-pound Allet verticutting attachment, then it might do a slightly better job on this space, but these blades are going to be completely adequate for the job that I actually want to do. So less waffling, let's get the lawnmower, let's give it a cut, let's tidy up these edges, and then we can get to verticutting. There we go, not taking a massive amount off the lawn, just cutting the very tips off the plant. And if you are going to be verticutting or even scarifying, you're going to want to cut your lawn a little bit shorter than you usually would, just so that the blades don't have as much friction to actually cut through. However, this lawn is already quite short, so just keeping it cut on the same setting is going to be absolutely fine. Now, verticutting your lawn, it's not just about pruning the plants. Obviously, it's about cutting the stolons, cutting the rhizomes, and encouraging more growth to take place. But the other reason as well is to prevent disease. Now, with a lawn like this, the more you cut it, the more it's going to naturally thicken itself up. The sward just becomes more and more dense, the more that you cut it, the more that you prune the actual plant. So to prevent disease from happening, what we can do is thin out the sward. You've almost got to see it as a bit of a balance between a thin sward and a really dense sward, and you almost want something that sits somewhere within the middle. So what we're going to be doing today is we'll be thinning out the sward, but it's going to encourage all that growth, so then that sward thickens back up, and as it becomes too thick, we then verticut and we thin it out, and we just keep that balance to keep the lawn in check. And now that we're in September, the problem we'll have if we don't verticut this space is we'll start getting disease across the lawn. And when the actual lawn sits in a lot of moisture throughout the winter, particularly in this garden where the lawn doesn't really get a lot of sun through winter, we want to give it the best fighting chance that we possibly can, so that disease doesn't take over and destroy all the hard work that we've put in so far this year. Now what you want to do is make sure that whatever way you almost cut the lawn on a regular basis, you want to verticut in the opposite direction, because with the type of lawn that this is, because there's so much lateral growth, the grass on this space has almost become used to growing in a particular direction. And what the verticut is now going to do is it's going to cut almost against the grain, and it's going to rip out much more of that lateral growth than it otherwise would do. Now don't get me wrong, I still go the alternate direction when I cut the grass on this space, but only probably once a week, whereas when I go the usual way, that's probably being cut there around about 2 or 3 times a week, so slightly more than going this other way. Now that's quite interesting. You'll be able to see that I've just used the Scarifier up and down on this space, and this space here is, you know, looks like it hasn't even been passed across with the machine. Now if you've been subscribed to this channel since sort of early spring this year, you'll know that I installed a drain system in this lawn. So there's one drain that runs across the front, and there's another one that runs from the back down to the front over here. And over time, obviously the soil's clearly settled, and I think getting on with that really heavy allet as well to cut the lawn has just meant that this soil has become really compacted in this place. It's going to be about raising this level up ever so slightly. So what I might have to do is just be careful and go the alternate direction when it comes to verticutting on this part of the lawn. So there we go, we've used a Scarifier to actually verticut the lawn, and to actually prove that it is a verticut rather than a scarification is to actually look at the material that we've actually taken off. Just bring in nice and close now, you'll see almost every single thing that we've got here in this pile is green growth. That is all lateral growth from across the lawn. Another telltale sign as well is just get up close to the lawn, you can see where these little channels are, where the blades have cut through and where they've actually pruned all those grass plants, and it's not actually gone into the soil. There are some places, like for example over here, where it's actually dug in a little bit deeper, ever so slightly, but that's to be expected because the space isn't perfectly flat. And you can see that the lawn's in fairly decent nick still as well, so it's not been too aggressive. Now I'm going to hit the blower, I'm going to blow off all these excess grass blades. What you could do is go on, get a bigger space with a rotary mower and suck up all these extra blades that are knocking about, but I think I'll just get the blower and do it that way. And also as well, it just proves that you don't have to spend, you know, best part of 450 quid, let's say, on an attachment. So the last thing I'm going to do isn't necessarily essential, but I'm going to give the lawn just a quick feed. I'm not putting a massive amount down. This is just roughly half sort of the dosage of true grass that I'd usually give it, and it's just to give the grass that little bit of a boost to help fill back in some of those spaces and encourage much more of that lateral growth now that I've actually thinned out the sward. So there we go, the lawn has been vertical, and the next thing we're going to be doing to this space is going to be hollow tine aerating it. However, I'm going to wait till this lawn starts to recover from that verticut, and I think within the next few weeks it's something we're definitely going to do in preparation for winter. So thanks for watching today's video. If you found it useful or enjoyed it, feel free to give it a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing. As ever, the Instagram is in the description below. And finally, thanks for watching.